Haha, well, finally, procrastination pays off. A few days ago, ZeRo made a video explaining why Smash can never be balanced. I was about to refute that video before, but with the new patch notes, this debate will be as one-sided as an online match against bad Wi-Fi NES. Well, not really. ZeRo's video is good, and it is the most common held opinion, but I think we're seeing subtle, or even not so subtle, based on the last patch, evidence that Nintendo's priorities are not exactly where ZeRo thinks they are. You can find a link in the description, but his basic argument is that Smash won't be properly balanced because the Nintendo devs are torn between two audiences. Well, I'm H4 from Smash Gambits, here to tell you not only how the game can be simultaneously balanced for competitors and casuals, but also the signs that Nintendo is already a step ahead of us in trying to make these balances happen. Things that are really strong in a casual setting are often pretty weak at higher level gameplay, and higher level characters are too difficult to execute in a casual setting. For instance, Smash 4 Chic is really good if you play it precisely, patiently, and have a good offstage game. Casuals are not known for precision, patience, or edgeguarding. Instead, they often throw really powerful moves around, like Ike's forward smash or Samus' charge shot, and they're often bad at avoiding these very telegraphed attacks. So if the devs are trying to balance for a casual setting, they tend to weaken things like charge shots or early killing attacks. Yes, Little Mac is really weak against a patient opponent who keeps Mac in the air, but most casuals want to run in with an F-smash, and if F-smashing is all you do, Little Mac seems OP. So if you nerf Mac to the point where he's not dominating casuals, he's pretty useless in competitive play. Well, the casual scene isn't going anywhere, but the competitive ultimate scene is really picking up, and there could be some demand for balancing to affect both. But how? This was a big question on my mind a few years ago when I was working hard as a tester on a re-release of an old game. It was a really interesting dynamic because the game had been adequately balanced and there were a lot of top players interested in the re-release. So, right from the very beginning of the game, you'd have players with 5 years of experience alongside complete beginners. The issue is that one style of deck, Frost, was really easy to execute against another style of deck, Fire. Among top players, they felt the matchup was maybe 60-40 at worst because of a few tricks and precise plays that the Fire player could do to even the odds. However, even mid to high ranked players thought the matchup was closer to 90-10. Nerfing Frost or buffing Fire was problematic because these decks were balanced quite well against other decks. But it also didn't seem right to adjust the matchup based on their casual opinion. Problem is, the game was trying to revive itself, and most of the new players would be casual and would lose hard in the matchup. On one hand, that's kind of okay because it's a bit of a rock, paper, scissors for which matchup you get, but I wanted to do better. I thought the best solution would be to introduce cards that only casuals would use, cards that helped against the matchup. In this case, the new card would only be useful in that one matchup, and would otherwise be a waste of a deck slot. For top players who can handle the delicate matchup with precision, they wouldn't want to waste a deck slot, but casuals would love it, and they're willing to give up a deck slot against most opponents just to prevent an auto-lose against Frost. My solution didn't end up getting implemented because the devs weren't ready to introduce new cards yet, but I really think it could solve this problem of balancing for two skill levels. So what about Smash? Can the devs split the roster into casual and competitive players and balance accordingly? Take about 20 characters that will never be OP and casual free-for-alls, balance those to be in a single tier list for competitive play, and make all the other characters completely inferior but fun to play casually? Well, is 20 completely competitively viable characters worth discarding the rest? If you think about it, that's how Melee is balanced. You have something like 6 tournament playable characters and the rest are hot garbage. But when I was a noob, I didn't know that Marth was better than Roy. I thought Ice Climbers were worthless. Because I was always playing with crazy items and stages, random factors like Pokeballs and who someone else targets would decide the match way more than character selection. So yeah, from that perspective, Melee can be considered balanced for both competitive and casual play. But I don't really think that's the ideal solution for Smash Ultimate. We are really at a special place where more and more casual players are at least becoming interested in the competitive scene. I think part of that is simply because the competitive culture has become more and more mainstream, but I think another part of that is the growing trust in the devs. They're releasing patch notes for goodness sake. And come on, when we saw Ike's or Roy's win major tournaments, that was huge. But Ike and Roy both have early kill potential and poor recoveries, so these characters would probably fall on the casual side of the tier list split. Instead, having more character archetypes represented at the super majors will increase viewership across the board. And viewership boosts are good for everyone, from streamers to competitors to the viewers themselves. So from that perspective, Nintendo should utilize every cast member for both competitive and casual play. Is there a solution? Yes, and I've already hinted at how this can be possible. we can still balance casual play against something that will be dropped in competitive play, but instead of dropping characters, there's already something else that can be dropped. Nintendo has realized this, and I genuinely think they're making progress toward the solution. Nintendo has begun making some subtle balance changes based around final smashes, illegal stages, and items. As a result, we're finally seeing the best versions of heavies and projectile users. Heavy, strong, simple to use characters are always going to be good in casual play. Spammy projectile users will be good as well. But since casual play often uses weird stages where mobility and recovery are important, and items where speed is important, the devs can and have balanced these powerful or projectile characters to be bad at illegal stages or against items. Even the damage modifier was specifically introduced so that someone like Ike or Ganon can have crazy kill potential in a 1v1 without F-smashing being the dominant strategy in free-for-alls. Furthermore, they made heavies have more combos, which means that smash spamming noobs will really not reach the character's full potential. I think Ike is a really good example of how all this is accomplished. Ike does not utilize items well because he travels slowly, so faster characters will get them first. He doesn't like being outranged or attacked quickly, which many items do. His recovery can easily be interrupted with items like the Gust Bellows. Additionally, the power of many items means that Ike's ability to raw F-smash you to death can be combated by a raw Bob-omb to death. His recovery also hampers him, especially in transforming stages or when there are hazards. So, for the first time ever, we're getting a good Ike. Yes, Ike is still slow and powerful, but now he's scary in a comboing way, and an F-smashing noob will not get that much mileage out of him. Even Ganon has a surprising amount of combos. And Ike's F-smashing isn't even that ridiculous in this game. Ganon's is way better. Projectiles in general are also way better, another noob strat. But I think you'll see that in most of these cases, the devs are able to balance for the competitive scene by also balancing around the casual rule set. Yes, it does mean that we probably won't ever see a small character with crazy kill power, except for Little Mac, and that's indeed the very example ZeRo used in his video. But even Little Mac doesn't have disproportionately large hitboxes. If he's hit 2 or 3 times in a free-for-all, he might be dead, and he just can't get to the smash ball. So overall, I'm not sure he's anything to complain about in casual play. Yes, Little Mac is still weak in competitive play, and I'm not saying that balancing will ever be perfect. But Little Mac's combination of speed, power, and super armor makes him the casual spamming character, so I think it does make sense to nerf him a bit harder than most casual friendly characters. I mean, it's better than him not being in the game at all, right? But this is where things get even more interesting. In the most recently issued patch, Little Mac got buffs. Sakurai has previously issued a statement claiming that characters on average had very similar win rates. I'm not sure what metrics were used for that, or what similar means exactly, but I bet that most of the data was generated from casual play, so there's evidence to suggest that items and stage hazards are the great equalizer. Why would casual players even complain about a tier list? Do they have such a concept? Probably the only reason to complain about Little Mac was in Smash Wars 4 Glory, which tried to get casuals to play by competitive rules. Sure, in a 1v1 on FD with no items, Little Mac is still a god against noobs, but what noobs are playing 1v1s anymore? That is possibly the best thing about Smash Ultimate Online system, is that it doesn't try to coerce casuals into playing with a non-casual rule set. Casuals are free to run around with their random effects, which basically take care of the tier list itself. Regardless of whether Little Mac is easier to execute than Sheik, when you've got a hammer, both characters take the same skill to use. And in transforming stages, there's a case that noobs would think Sheik is better than Little Mac. When I made my original post on ZeRo's video, a user named Gizmoman said it well. He called it trickle-down balancing. Take care of balancing characters at the top level, and the random effects will take care of themselves at the casual level. So look, the devs need to satisfy casuals. They are the majority market share. I get that, you get that, Nintendo most definitely gets that. But the competitive scene is becoming bigger and bigger, and Nintendo has recognized that satisfying the competitors will ultimately increase the amount of casuals who play the game. So the devs need to walk a fine line, but I think they're doing it. They need to balance competitive play will also make casual play feel balanced. They're doing that in 3 ways. The devs adjusted online mode, both quick play and battle arenas for rules. Casuals can play casually with no pressure to do 4 glory without items. In a casual environment, it's impossible to say that one character is OP. The devs adjusted kill power and free-for-alls. The theory is that if you're only playing 1v1, you deserve to get hit with Ganon or Little Mac's F-smash. But in free-for-all, those moves are a little less world-ending. Most significantly, the devs are making very precise balance changes. They're giving small nerfs to characters that succeed in competitive play, but they're also giving fake nerfs to characters that succeed in casual play. MightyKeef has very recently complained that Nintendo shouldn't be nerfing non-OP characters like Pichu or K. Rool. Why not? Look at this, K-Rool got a nerf to some jank that crushed noobs, but he overall got a buff. Seems like a win-win to me. And Pichu's got a long list of nerfs, but which of them are significant? And are tournament level Pichu players spamming side smash? No, these nerfs were specifically made to appease the casual players without really affecting the competitive players. The casual players don't care that Pichu's nerf was insignificant, they're just appeased by the placebo effect. While competitive players, don't be deceived by the placebo. The devs are deceptively appeasing the noobs while sneakily giving us what we want. So, to ZeRo or MightyKeef or whoever's watching, cheer up. There's lots of evidence to suggest that Nintendo is actually trying to balance the game for both audiences. The devs have introduced specific mechanics and balancing decisions to keep the entire cast viable for casual and competitive play. Perhaps the balance isn't there yet, and perhaps it never will be. But, possibly for the first time in Smash history, the competitive voice is being heard and listened to. Whoa! Hey, you're still here? That's pretty cool. If you like this general rant about Nintendo policy, I think you'll also like my video about Reggie. It's a bit satirical, but I hope you come away with a greater appreciation for the man. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, you can click here for something that the YouTube algorithm will recommend.